Welcome to episode 2. I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Lauren.
And this is Bloodline. Welcome back to Bloodline. This is episode 2. If you are new here, this is a podcast that we created to chat about true crime cases, and each week we switch off presenting a case to each other. And last week for episode 1, Lauren presented an episode about the Oklahoma Girl Scout murders, and this week I will be presenting a case. So for tonight's case, I'm super excited because I haven't done this before. So
I'm excited to just chill and listen for once.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like it's going to be a different vibe because, yeah. So this will be fun. So tonight's episode is going to be the case of Army Captain Lynn Reister.
Lynn Reister.
And
Leighton Meester.
You know what? My old boss said that I look like Leighton Meester. And I was like, I don't think so. And then she, like a year later, she was like, has anyone ever told you that you look like Leighton Meester? And I was like, yeah, you did that like a year ago, and I still don't think so. But anyway, so
Lynn Reister.
Yeah. So, and obviously you don't know anything about the case, Lauren. Mm-mm. There's actually not that much information about it online even. Like, there's not even YouTube videos or anything really about it, which I was kind of surprised.
I was super shocked when you told me the name and I had no idea what you were talking about.
Yeah, I was like, dang, I'm good.
Because when you first said someone that was like an army or like military or, you know, something like that, I thought of the Vanessa Guillen case, and like everyone's been covering that lately. And then it wasn't that, and I was, like, sick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, like, it's not that recent either. It's from 2001, so, I mean, it's newer, but it's not like it just happened, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so, like I said, 2001, centers around Army Captain Lynn Reister. She was an Army captain at Fort Bliss in Texas. And in 2001, Lynn was 30 years old. And she was 6 months pregnant, and she was living in Texas with her husband, Roger, who was 27 at the time, and they also had a son. His name was Tristan, and he was 4. Her husband, Roger, was also in the Army, and he was a sergeant, and he was also based at Fort Bliss, so they worked there together. And that's actually kind of how they met. They met back in the early 90s when they were both stationed in Germany. And Lynn was higher rank than Roger. And
yeah. I love that.
Yeah, I know, right? But it was against the rules for them to be in a relationship because I guess the rules are that you can't be in a relationship with someone who's lower ranking than you unless you're married.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
it's kind of like you can't date your boss.
Yeah, exactly. But they were in love, so they kept seeing each other kind of like undercover for a while. Yes. But then eventually they got married while they were still overseas because they were, wanted to be able to be openly together and not have to hide it anymore. And then right after that is when Lynn found out that she was pregnant with Tristan.
Okay.
But then, unfortunately, Roger got deployed again pretty much right away, and he missed Tristan's birth.
Because they moved to what state was this?
No, they're still overseas.
Oh, they're still overseas.
Yeah. So they were still deployed when this all was going on. I think they got married in Denmark.
Okay, so then he got called back to.
So he got deployed again somewhere else, like to another place. He got transferred, I think, to another location. I didn't say where, pretty much right away, and he missed like the rest of the pregnancy and the birth of Tristan. And then when Roger got back, then Lynn was deployed to another place. So they had to do a lot of like single parenting while the other person was deployed, and they spent a lot of the first couple years of their marriage doing a long distance relationship. So then once Lynn got back from her deployment, then they were like, okay, this is enough. So they requested to transfer to the U.S. so they could hopefully settle down a little bit and raise Tristan in the United States. So that's when they got transferred to Fort Bliss, and that was in the fall of 1996, and they got a home there in Texas. And then in the summer of 2000, Lynn was deployed again
Oh my god.
to Saudi Arabia.
Oh yeah, because
and
this is when all that shit's going down.
Yeah, so this is where
Bad
things
shit's
start
going
getting
down.
a little funky. So while Lynn was deployed, Roger started getting the idea that she was having an affair while she was overseas.
Ooh.
And I am not sure why he thought this.
Yeah, I was gonna say what.
Yeah, there was like no evidence that I could find as to why this would be true or why he would have any inkling that she was cheating on him.
Maybe he was just one of those people who's like really like paranoid about that kind of stuff, or maybe like
Yeah.
she was being distant and he just assumed that it was something like that. I don't know, that's weird.
Yeah, and she was known to be really caring about like her troops and stuff, and would form like, you know, good relationships with them and like cared about them and their families a lot. So I don't know if he was just like always insecure about that, you know, her having like relationships at work and stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
That ain't cool.
But yeah, there's no like there's nothing that would suggest that she was having an affair.
Okay.
And like both Lynn and like her coworkers and friends in the army that were like with her too, they fully denied this. So
she wasn't
basically-
having an affair.
No, she wasn't. Yeah. They all said that she was really committed to her marriage, and I'll kind of get a little bit more into that later as far as like how committed she was. But like, yeah, definitely making it clear that from what I could find, she was not having an affair.
Yeah.
But anyway, Roger thought she was for whatever reason. So then when she got back home to Texas, there was a lot of tension in the home.
Yikes.
And Roger decided to move on to base and live in the barracks.
Ooh.
But
And wait, how
Lynn-
old is Tristan at this point, their son?
So he's 4 now.
He's 4, okay. So he
Yeah.
kind of knows what's going on. He's like,
Yeah.
bye.
Confusing for him. Yeah. And I'm sure it was always kind of chaotic for him because it's like one parent's there and the other parent's gone
Yeah.
all the time, like up until from when he was born up until now. So
Yeah, that would be really hard.
yeah. So Roger goes and lives on in the barracks on base, but Lynn didn't want to give up on their marriage, and she really wanted to keep the family together, so she got Roger to go to marriage counseling with her. And they eventually reconciled, and he moved back into their house. And then shortly after this is when Lynn found out she was pregnant with their second son.
Oh. It was his?
Oh, yeah, it was his.
Okay.
Yeah, like they like got back together, and then
Okay,
like
they were,
they
like,
reconciled. They moved back
Gucci.
in, and then she got pregnant. Yeah, again.
Okay.
So now they have Tristan, the 4-year-old, and now she's pregnant again.
Oh,
And then
Lord.
the next big thing that happened was that Lynn got a new position for work, and she was going to be transferring to Minnesota. Woo woo!
Minnesota.
Shout out to Minnesota to teach ROTC. Which I wonder if it was at the U of M, because there's like a huge ROTC thing at the University of Minnesota. Maybe it was. I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyway, she was scheduled to leave on June 1st of 2001.
Wait.
So
So was the whole family gonna move or just her?
I think they were gonna move, but it wasn't quite clear on that.
Okay. Because that would be
I
weird
was
if she,
thinking
like, actually deadass moved. Like, it's one thing to, like, get
Yeah.
deployed and then know you're coming back, but, like, to go somewhere to teach and completely move, and that's, like, a very far move, too. It's not, like, just a
Yeah,
nearby
I
state.
think since it was within the United States, I'm pretty sure they were all gonna move there.
Okay.
But I don't know if it was like she was gonna transfer and start her job for a little bit, and then then the rest of the family was gonna move, because like it didn't say anything about the house being for sale or anything like that. So
I mean,
I don't
I feel
know.
like sometimes that's how it goes because they want to make sure that, like, she actually likes it before the whole family, like, moves there,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. So I feel like that happens a lot.
and he and Roger might not have had something set up yet, or like he might not have been able to transfer to there. So yeah. So I'm not exactly sure, but I know that she for sure was gonna be leaving on June 1st to go to Minnesota.
Okay.
So all of her coworkers planned her like a going away party a few days before she was supposed to leave, and they all really loved her. Like I was saying before, she always put so much effort into really caring about her soldiers and all of their families. And she was just a really loved and respected captain, and people were sad to see her go. But she never showed up for her going away party.
Ooh. She was like, I'm already gone. I can't be going away.
Yikes. Okay. So, on May 24th, this is the day of her going away party, 2001, Roger gets home from work to find Lynn lying on the floor of their master bedroom. There was blood everywhere. Her throat had been slashed, and she had been stabbed several times.
Okay, so that was personal for sure.
Yeah, she had defensive wounds on her hands as well, and she was stabbed in the neck and several other times, like, on her body. And Roger had Tristan with him, so he, like, rushed out of the house. Yeah, so he, like, rushes out of the house as fast as he can with Tristan, because he doesn't want him to, like, see anything, obviously. And he calls 911 and is like, I just found my wife, I think she's dead. So then all the cops show up, and Roger's brother Rodney comes over to be with Roger for, like, support, because he lives in the same city. And the cops start getting all the information and trying to kind of get a timeline of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So Roger said that the last time he saw Lynn alive was 4:30 that morning, and he was taking Tristan to work with him because Lynn had a doctor's appointment that day, so she was going to be staying home from work, and then she was going to come pick up Tristan after her appointment was over.
Okay.
And Rodney was able to confirm this because that morning before Roger left for work, he couldn't get his car to start, so he called Rodney to come over and help him get it started.
Okay.
And then he left for work after that. And then because Roger was obviously at work, he had a solid alibi.
Yeah.
And everything, like, checked out with that. But just due to regular protocol, they still got Roger's fingerprints, and they got Rodney's fingerprints too, because he actually lived in the house for a while as well. So Rodney is Roger's younger brother, and he was 25 at the time. And he actually had a bit of a criminal record. Nothing like murder or anything. It was like he was stealing stuff and, like, setting fires and stuff like that. So more like petty crimes or whatever you call them. And he had done some jail time, and then after he got out of jail, Roger and Lynn were like, look, why don't you come stay with us, because he was, like, just messing up left and right, and they were like, we'll help you get on your feet and, like, help you for a little bit. So
that's nice.
He went in and moved in with them, but then after, like, 6 weeks, they were like, okay, you gotta move out.
They were, like, sick of his shit.
Yeah, he, like, wasn't contributing to the house. He wasn't, like, cleaning up or, like, helping them keep the place clean.
Though, low-key?
Yeah, and he, like, wasn't trying to find a job, and
these all seem like things that could have been predicted.
Yeah, and he, like, I think he was, like, smoking in the house and stuff, and Lynn was getting pissed.
None of that when you have a 4-year-old kid. And you're pregnant. Is she pregnant at this time?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah, because she got pregnant, like...
Not be smoking around my pregnant.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
So...
That would be enough for me to kick someone out.
You gotta go buddy boy. So he moved in with his girlfriend, and she lived close by, so he was still, like, in the same area. But yeah, so he had moved out, and he said that he hadn't seen Lynn for, like, a week. And then they asked Rodney if he knew anyone that would want to hurt Lynn, and he said the only person he because he won't let me smoke in the house.
I'm trying to smoke up her womb, bro. She won't even let me smoke up her womb.
Jeez. He said that the only person he could think of was this girl named April, who had a crush on Roger.
A crush.
Do you ever think when you're all alone?
Don't. That was me and my 7th grade boyfriend's song. I listened to that song this past weekend, and I actually listened to it recently as well. I can't remember why, but I did. My 3-day relationship. So.
What? Is that the album?
No, that's how long my relationship was with that 7th grade boy.
Oh.
That was our song. I broke up
I'm
with
so
him
sorry.
on Halloween, so.
Ouch.
Spooky.
What a spooky breakup. Anyways, so, little plot twist here. It was not just a crush. It was not just a David Archuleta crush. So, remember how
Oh my god,
Roger...
wait. Oh my god. Okay, let me just say something right now. I think I just cracked the code. And by that, I mean, when he was suspecting that she was having an affair, he was actually the one having an affair, and that's why he was so paranoid, because he was, like, projecting it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
So, he was all, like, sus that Lynn was having an affair while she was overseas. Well, actually, while Lynn was overseas, Roger was partying all the time.
Oh my god.
He was, like, having sexual relations with several women. He would go out clubbing.
What was the son doing while he was out clubbing?
I don't know.
Or did he just bring his son to the club with him?
That was one of the things I could not find out. Tristan was
his son loves
"Lynn."
going to his son loves going to the club, actually.
He's like that kid in that video that, like, have you seen that video of that kid with sunglasses on dancing in the club? I love that video.
No, but
you know what I'm
that's
talking
him.
about?
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll send it to you because you need to see it. Anyway, so Roger would go out clubbing with some of the younger troops that were in the army. Like, he was hanging out with, like, a bunch of, like, the younger people because he was just, like, trying to be 21 again or something.
Goals.
Me.
Just kidding. Being
And
21 during the pandemic is not being 21.
yeah, I'm so sorry.
Rip.
But he would, like, go out clubbing, and then he would have people over to his house, to him and Lynn's house, and they would, like, party all weekend there.
Jesus.
So he
How old
just
was
had,
this
like,
guy?
a little... He's 27.
Oh, so
I mean,
he's still
not,
in
like,
party
that
age.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not, like, that old, but, like, still, he has a son and a wife.
Yeah, like, he needs to chill.
Yeah. So it was during this whole time of partying and, like, having sex with a bunch of people and stuff that April started hitting on Roger. And April was also married, and her husband was also deployed at the time. He was in Korea.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so she's like, my hubby is off, you know, fighting for our country, and your wife is off fighting for our country, so let's bang.
Burn up.
So, they developed a relationship, and she was like, I'll help you out with Tristan because Lynn's away.
No, that's I don't
like
want
so
her
fucked
to.
up.
I don't
I know,
want
it's
her
like,
to help
I know
with
that you have
Tristan.
a wife and a child, and I'm gonna help out with your child, and then
And hopefully your child doesn't spill the beans
can pay me
when
with-
your wife comes back.
certain reparations. Yeah, so, speaking of that, when the investigators talked to little 4-year-old Tristan about it, he reportedly said, quote, April wants to marry daddy.
Okay, so
Yeah, it's like, yikes.
that's just like, ugh. Imagine if, like, okay, obviously the dad, like, probably wasn't there when, like, the kid was being interviewed, but, like, imagine the dad sitting next to him, and they're like, so Tristan, like, what can you tell us about, like,
Yeah.
this lady? And he just goes, April wants to marry daddy, and the dad's like, shut up!
Yeah. Matthew.
Matthew!
Yeah, so that's awkward. Tristan really spilled the beans there.
Kids always say shit like that in, like, interrogations, and I love it.
I know.
Like, spill the tea, sweetheart.
Yes. So, yeah, so that was all going on. Rodney's like, maybe she did something. Who knows? So they're like, holy crap. So then they start looking into this. And turns out Lynn actually knew about April because
Oh.
so Roger had said that he ended things with April when Lynn got back. But
Yeah.
then the investigators found out that he was actually still meeting up with April 2 to 3 times a week.
That is not anything.
After Lynn got back. Yeah. And then one night Lynn went to one of the bars or clubs or whatever, and she actually caught them there together. Roger and April there.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And also previously to that, one of Lynn's friends who was also in the army saw Roger and April at a restaurant together while Lynn was away. And, like, she apparently walked in and saw, like, a group of army people, like, hanging out at this restaurant. And then, like, April was, like, all, like, cozied up to Roger or whatever.
No.
And she was like, what the fuck? So it had been, like, fully confirmed for Lynn, and she knew. And then the rumors started going around that April was pregnant.
Okay, why did I see that coming?
I know, it just keeps getting worse. So, at this point, Roger had moved back into the barracks again because Lynn had confronted him about the affair, and then he was like,
why didn't he move in with
I'm out.
What's her nuts? Well, I suppose she
probably
did have a
because
husband.
Her husband was there. I don't know. Yeah. So, okay, even through all of this, though, Lynn still didn't want to give up on their marriage.
Girl.
So, like, this, like, really shows how dedicated she was, though, and, like, shows even more so that she was most likely not having an affair in Saudi Arabia.
Definitely not.
Yeah. And then another little side note here. Apparently, Lynn's tires were slashed once. Like, sometime, it didn't say exactly when, but it was, like, sometime during this whole time. So they suspected that it might have been April, but they never confirmed it. So, like, Rodney kind of knew about some of the stuff. Said that she had a crush on Roger, to put it lightly.
They're like, yo, I need a crush, bro.
And they were like, also, she might have slashed Lynn's tires once, so...
It's casual.
Yeah.
It's just a crush. Just a fun little crush.
Yeah. So, anyway, the investigators were like, oh, fuck, we gotta go find April. So, they question her, and she admits to dating Roger for a few months in 2000, but she denies killing Lynn. And she tells them that they should go talk to Army soldier Patrick Mueller.
Okay, who's Patrick Mueller? Mueller.
Right.
Mueller.
Okay, so I'm about to drop a big bomb here.
Oh god, I'm nervous.
So the forensic evidence has been processed, and it turns out that they found a bloody handprint on Lynn's forearm.
Okay, whose was it, bro?
Any guesses? Any guesses here? Whose it was?
It was Rodney, Roger's brother.
It was Rodney's.
I knew it. I knew something was off
Not
about
even
him.
shitting you. Yeah, it was Rodney's. So this is like a huge breakthrough in the case. They bring Rodney in again for questioning, and he's like denying everything. And they're like, you know what? We think that Roger told you to do it. And he's like, no, I had nothing to do with it. And then they pull out the evidence, and they're like, look, Rodney, we found your literal handprint
okay, that's
on
like
the murder victim.
Least favorite thing when they have like super solid evidence, especially like forensic evidence, and then the person's still like, couldn't have been me.
Yeah, couldn't be me.
Not me.
Yeah. Oh, just you wait, honey. There's more to the story. So they're like, look, bitch, we found your literal handprint on the murder victim. And then at that point, he's like, okay, yeah, it was me. And Roger asked me to do it.
Yeah, that's the best way to get out of it. I mean,
Yeah,
you're not
so
going to
then
get out of it, but like...
Yeah, so here's the thing. The investigators are like, okay, hell yes, we got him. And apparently we also got Roger. But then, unfortunately, when it came to testifying and the actual trial, Rodney changed his mind and he would not testify against Roger.
What?
And he actually had a court hearing to rescind his initial confession.
Bro,
and he tried to say that the investigators, like, threatened him into saying it and all this shit. And there was no proof of that, and there was also, like, no reason for Rodney to lie and say that Roger was involved. Like, there was no, like, immunity deal or anything like that, you know?
Dude.
Because there's, like, sometimes, you know, where they're like, well, if you tell us more information, then we'll give you, like... There was, like, nothing like that, so that wouldn't even make sense.
Oh, my God.
And I, like, read part of, like, the court case, like, notes, and it was just, like, he was just trying to, like, basically, like, say all these things why the confession would be, like, not permissible in court and stuff, and then it just, like, didn't add up, and it was like, okay, whatever. But then, unfortunately, because of all of that, like, bullshit, they weren't able to use that information against Roger anymore.
The confession?
Yeah, like, Rodney saying that Roger made him do it, like, they weren't able, and, like, he wouldn't testify and say that Roger had anything to do with it, so they weren't able to, like, use him in it.
I mean, at least they still had the handprint, because, like, the handprint is, like,
for sure
the golden
Rodney,
ticket.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure Rodney's involved, but then the Roger thing's questionable now. So Rodney ends up getting saved from the death penalty because of that. Because murder for hire is a capital offense, and if he would have been convicted of that, he would have been put on death row. But since he didn't have the confession or like his testimony, he was convicted of life in prison instead.
Oh.
So that's good at least, but you know, it's kind of interesting. But not so fast, Roger. So remember back when April was like, you should talk to Army soldier Patrick Mueller?
Yo, yeah. We never found out about that lad.
Yeah, so let's just skirt on back to that. So after Lynn was murdered, this guy named Patrick, he actually came forward to the cops and confessed that Roger had hired him to kill Lynn.
Oh, criminy.
And he said that Roger started talking about getting Lynn killed while Lynn was in Saudi Arabia. And Roger told Patrick that Lynn was having an affair and that he was afraid that if they got divorced, that she would get custody of Tristan.
That's always why they do it. Like the quote-unquote reason why they do it.
Yeah, right.
Because I was like, I just didn't want them to have custody of my kid. It's like, okay, but you should have custody of your kid? You fucking psycho.
Yeah. And Patrick said that Roger told him he'd pay him $10,000 in cash, and then he was going to give him more money once he got Lynn's life insurance, which was $250,000.
Mm-hmm. Classic. So,
here's the other thing. Patrick agreed to it.
Homie, no.
Like, not funny, but like, Patrick, are you kidding me?
So, was it one of those classic situations where they agreed to it and then, like, they chicken out right before they're supposed to do it kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of. So, they had, like, a whole plan, and it's going to sound kind of familiar here. So, Patrick told investigators that the plan was for Roger to bring Tristan to work with him so he wouldn't be there. And then he told Patrick to stab Lynn in the throat so she wouldn't be able to scream.
Oh,
and that's where she ended up getting stabbed by Rodney. So, like, that parallels. And then the whole thing about him bringing Tristan to work, like, he did that too. But then on the day that Patrick went to the house to go through with the murder plan, he, like, walked up to the house. But then right before he opened the door, he got scared because he thought a neighbor had seen him. So then he, like, left. And then apparently Roger was, like, pissed at him because Lynn was still alive. So,
he gets home from work and he's like, oh, you're alive.
Yeah, my God. And it wasn't just Patrick. There were 3 other people that testified that Roger had either tried to solicit them to kill Lynn or had just talked about killing Lynn in general. Like, talked about wanting her to get her killed. And then April also told investigators that Roger said to her, quote, maybe when she gets back, I'll take care of her for good.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. So it was revealed that Roger was concerned that he would get in trouble with the military if Lynn reported him for his affair and all of his other, like, extracurricular activities, that he was up to while Lynn was away. And that he was afraid that he would lose custody of Tristan, which we already know that.
Like, maybe you shouldn't have made those decisions then.
Right. Now, the other super strange coincidence I found was that at one point during the investigation, Patrick Mueller was actually put in jail for another, like, unrelated thing.
Okay.
And while he was in jail, that was when they took Rodney into custody, and they put Rodney in the same cell as Patrick.
Why would they do that? That's not a good idea.
This is before, I think, this might have been before Patrick came forward about
So they didn't even know that the two, like, knew each other, probably.
Yeah, I think so. That's kind of what it seems like. Because then Patrick said that Rodney was, like, crying, and he said that he couldn't believe what Roger had done to him. So then Patrick started asking him, like, what happened? Like, why did you do it? Like, what the hell happened? And so this is what Patrick said about the situation. Quote, he said he did it strictly for love because he loved his brother Roger. Rodney said there was no money involved, but Roger said he was going to take care of Rodney. But there was like a little bit of a discrepancy there because I found another source that said Roger had offered Rodney $1,000 up front and then more after he got the insurance money.
Okay.
So, I don't know. But then it was also found out that the whole, like, my car won't start thing that happened the morning that Lynn died was actually the signal for Rodney to come over and commit the crime that day.
Oh, my God.
And Roger left Rodney some clean clothes in the house, too, so that he could, like, clean up and leave without raising suspicion. And he had also told Rodney that Lynn was cheating on him and that if they got a divorce, she would get custody of Tristan.
Oh, my God.
I think he was kind of, like, trying to make Rodney, like, feel bad and be like, you have to help me, like, brother.
Yeah.
Like, blah, blah, blah. So, despite all of this evidence and 4 more people aside from Rodney willing to testify that Roger talked to them about killing his wife, Roger still says that he had nothing to do with it.
What? Bro.
Yeah. He stands by the fact that Rodney acted alone.
Why would Rodney have any type of motive?
And then why would, like, these 4 other people say that? You know, because it wasn't just Patrick. It wasn't just Patrick. There were 3 other people, too. There was, like, another guy named, like, Brocksterman or something who was also in the army. And there's a couple other people that said it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
But it didn't really matter at this point. Like, yeah. And it didn't really matter then at that point what Roger said. Because they had all this evidence and all these people. So Roger was found guilty of 4 counts of solicitation of murder.
Oof.
And he was sentenced for 4 concurrent life terms in prison.
Oh my gosh.
So, like, 4 lifetimes. And, okay, the thing that bothers me so much about this case is that Dateline interviewed Roger a couple years later, and he is still adamant that he's an innocent man and that he didn't do anything.
Oh my God, just give it up. Like, I don't understand, like, sometimes, like, once they're in prison and they realize that they're never gonna get out, then they just admit it, but, like, these people who don't, it's like, bro, what do you think, that you're gonna get a retrial and that they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I guess you are innocent? Like, it's not gonna help you at this point to keep saying you're innocent unless it just makes you feel better about yourself, which is like, why would it? You obviously know that you did it.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I don't know if it's like he doesn't want Tristan to, like, hate him, but obviously, like, he does.
Yeah, I wonder if Tristan, like, does think that the dad did it, or if, like, it's one of those things where he's like, no, my dad did not do that.
I saw an interview with Tristan, and he's, like, grown up now, and he, like, believes that he did it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, he's probably about my age.
Yeah, he was, like, I think he was, like, in high school or something in the interview, or, like, maybe, like, late high school or early college, maybe.
He's probably a little bit older than me.
Yeah, no, I think he was in college. I think he was in college in the interview that I saw. And he was just saying that he had, like, kind of a hard life because in Lynn's will, in Lynn's will, she wanted him to live with his grandma. Mm-hmm. But then after she died, Roger, for some reason, had him go live with, like, his aunt and uncle instead. And he just said it was, like, a rough time because he, like, barely knew them at all. So he was, like, basically living with complete strangers, and he basically lost both of his parents.
Yeah, and he's just, like, a little guy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, and it was really sad, the interview, because he was just talking about how, like, he just hears all these good things about his mom, but, like, he never really
had the
got to know her. Yeah. And he was like, I just wish I had someone in my life that was just, like, unbiased, like, and loved me, like, you know, without bias, and, like, yeah. It was really sad.
Yikes.
So, yeah. So Tristan basically, like, lost both of his parents. And then April gave birth to her and Roger's son about a month after Lynn was murdered. Yuck. And both Roger and Rodney will spend the rest of their lives in prison.
Yay.
Snaps. But yeah.
Bruh, the kid, the baby.
Which one? The April's baby?
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine, like, growing up and then your father is, like, an adulterer and a murderer that's in prison for the rest of his life. But admits, like, won't admit that he did it even.
Yeah, not good.
And then I wonder what April's husband heard when he found out.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, I heard about this murder. And she's like, about
yeah,
that.
So he's like, I gotta tell you something. Not only am I cheating on you, I'm also pregnant with this guy's baby, and also he just had his wife murdered, and now he's in prison. Welcome home.
God, that's awful. I feel so bad for Tristan.
I know. But yeah, I just thought this case was interesting because of all, like, the random twists and turns and the drama left and right.
Yeah, a lot of drama. Well, fuck Roger, fuck Rodney. Raj and Rod. I hate them both.
I know. So yeah. If you liked this episode, please subscribe to us. We are now on Apple Podcasts officially, Spotify, Anchor, all the other platforms that you know and love. And we will have next episode, Lauren will be presenting a case again.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've been working on it. It's a doozy.
Uh-oh. I'm kind of scared for your cases, honestly.
Okay, I started researching a case that I've been slightly obsessed with for many years. And it's like, I can't decide if I want to do it or not because of how, like, fucked it is.
Is it, like, brutal? Like,
it's just, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, like, gross and bad.
okay.
But, like, no one really talks about it. And, like, it's very jarring. It's just, like, one of those things where you're like, oh my god, like, a real human being did that. Like, I don't know. I want to do it, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, I guess tune in next episode to see
what
she ends up presenting on.
if I tell you some really bad shit or just, like, some semi-bad shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you haven't already, you should follow us on Instagram at Bloodline Podcast. We post a lot of little tidbits about our episodes over there, some photographs that you can see from the cases if you want. We might also be posting some polls so you can give some feedback on what you want to hear in the future. But other than that, thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you so much, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.